Before sunrise, you stand on a stone causeway above Blackwater, and 5 towers rise into the dark like mountains built by human hands. They are not ruins, they are new. Pale sandstone catches the first gold of morning, fresh carvings glow, paint still clings to the walls, gilded edges flash in the torchlight. This is Angkor Wat, not the gray monument from postcards, not a forgotten jungle ruin, not yet a Buddhist shrine. In this year, around 1150, it is a Hindu temple to the god Vishnu, almost finished. And 800 years from now, people across the world will tell each other this place was lost, that it vanished, that the jungle ate it whole. They will be wrong. You are an ordinary carver. And the first thing you hear is not chanting, it is the sound of moving water. You live in Angkor, capital of the Khmer Empire, in what is now Cambodia, but city is too small a word. Angkor is reservoirs, canals, rice fields, raised roads, ponds, embankments, markets, and wooden houses, all wrapped around sacred stone on a wet plain. It sprawls across hundreds of square kilometers, by some estimates close to 1,000, holding a population scholars still argue over, perhaps as many as 750,000 people. No one should pretend the number is certain, but the scale is not in doubt. This is the largest city of the pre-industrial world, dwarfing medieval London and Paris combined. To the south breathes the Great Lake, the Tonle Sap. To the north rise the Kalen Hills, where the sandstone is cut. Between mountain and lake sits one king's masterpiece, a city built to command the monsoon. His name is Suryavarman II. You wake before the heat, on a woven mat in a house that is not stone, because almost no one lives in stone. Stone is for gods, kings, and ancestors. Your family's home stands on wooden stilts above the damp, built of timber, bamboo, and thatch, with chickens and clay jars beneath the floor. Rice steams in an earthen pot. Beside it sits a bowl of prahak, fermented fish paste, sharp, salty, the taste of the lake surviving the dry months. Your hands are already calloused and gray with sandstone dust, because for years your days have belonged to the king's great temple. But your family lives by the market. Rice cakes, dried fish, palm sugar. Your name will not survive history. No record will keep it. But remember this, cities like Angkor are not built by kings. They are built by people exactly like you. You climb down the ladder into the morning mist. The ground is damp. Dogs nose through scraps. Children carry water. Women tie baskets and count bundles for market. There are no coins here. Trade moves by barter. Rice for fish, cloth for salt, palm sugar for clay pots. Chinese silk, beeswax, and rare feathers change hands for grain. A Chinese visitor named Zhou Deguan, writing about 150 years after this morning, says women dominated the markets of Angkor. We cannot simply drag his words backward as proof, but it is a useful clue. So in this reconstruction, the market is already full of women's voices, sharp bargaining, and quick laughter. No engines, no iron rails, no glass, no Europeans, no firearms. Angkor moves by foot, boat, shoulder, ox, and water. And above the thatch roofs, pale in the brightening sky, the towers look impossible. Your path follows a canal. At first glance, it is just water. Quiet, brown, useful. But you know better. This canal belongs to a machine the size of a kingdom. Angkor's people have reshaped the land itself, cut channels, raised embankments, dug ponds, and built reservoirs called barrages so vast, one of them runs 5 miles long, lying at dawn as still as polished metal. The system swallows the monsoon and outwits the dry season. In places, the fields give 2, 3, even 4 rice harvests a year. Hold the chain in your mind, because it is the whole secret of Angkor. Water becomes rice, rice becomes labor, labor becomes temples, temples become empire. You pass a sluice gate where water murmurs through wood and earth. You do not know it yet, but this is the city's beating heart, and one day it will be its open wound. As the sun climbs, the temple road fills. Farmers, porters, servants, guards, priests, and laborers called for the finishing work. Because Angkor Wat is nearly complete, but not dead complete, it is still a building site, a sacred building site. Scaffolds cling to the galleries, stone dust gathers in the corners, men smooth surfaces and polish details, touching a god's mountain into perfection. Every block came from the Kulin Hills, more than 20 miles away, quarried, floated down rivers and canals on rafts, hauled by rope, roller, and elephant. By some estimates, 5 to 10 million blocks, some heavier than a man can lift, set without a drop of mortar, so tightly you cannot slide a knife blade between them. No machines, no steel, just water, rope, elephants, and an ocean of human labor, yours among it. Everything in Angkor flows along the water. Remember that. You approach from the west, and this matters. Most Khmer temples face the sunrise. Angkor Wat faces the setting sun. Scholars have argued about it for generations. Some tie it to Vishnu, some to a funerary meaning bound up with Surya Varman's own death and memory. The honest answer is, the debate is still open. But what is certain in your world is simple. This is a Hindu temple, a temple to Vishnu. In 1150, there are no giant smiling stone faces here, no bayon, no walled Angkor Tom the tourist will later picture. All of that belongs to a king named Jayavarman VII, decades in the future. Here and now the stone is new, pale golden sandstone, painted, perhaps gilded, sharp-edged. The king has tied his rule to the order of the cosmos. You do not need the scholar's word for it. He builds as if the universe obeys him. Inside, the air cools and the walls come alive. Armies march in carved lines, elephants pushing forward, standards rising, commanders sitting with the stillness of men who expect obedience. One great relief shows Surya Varman himself in royal procession, the living king written straight into the story of the gods. This is not just art, it is power, remembered in stone. Then your eyes shift and you are home, because this is your work. More than 1,000 celestial women, apsaras, devatas, and no two are alike. Their hairstyles change, their jewels change, their faces and poses shift from figure to figure. You carve some of them. Under your chisel, the sandstone stopped being rock. Stone became silk. Stone became skin. Stone became a dance held perfectly still. And you, a nameless man, put a face on a wall that will outlive every empire on earth. From an opening in the gallery, you glimpse Angkor beyond the temple, and this is the part the postcards will miss. The real city is not stone. It is wood and thatch, houses on stilts, smoke from cooking fires, boats in canals, gardens, cattle, fishing nets, children running barefoot through the mud. The sacred center is only the brightest flame. Around it spreads the ordinary living body of the city. A woman argues over a fish. A man patches a roof. A potter turns clay. Someone laughs too loud and is hushed. This is what ancient cities always hide from us. Stone survives and daily life disappears. The temple will stand for centuries. Your family's house will rot. Your basket will vanish. Your voice calling prices will vanish. But right now, the whole empire leans on people like you being hungry, tired, useful, and alive. Then you reach the image that stops the day. A wall becomes the beginning of the universe. Gods and demons haul on a giant serpent like a rope, body after body straining, hands locked, muscles tight. And at the center, Vishnu directs the struggle as the ocean of milk churns beneath them. This is one of Angkor's greatest carvings, the churning of the ocean of milk. It is not decoration. It is a vision of how reality works. Chaos forced into order, enemies turned into nectar, the universe made stable through pressure and divine command. Outside these walls, Angkor's canals master the water. Inside, the gods master the cosmic sea. And the message is overwhelming. Master the water, and life multiplies forever. But the carving is more honest than it means to be. Churning creates power. It also creates strain. And strain, in the end, leaves cracks. At day's turn, the master sends you up the central tower. The stairs are so steep you climb on hands and feet, because the way to heaven is not meant to be easy. And at the top, you stop breathing. Below you, in every direction to the edge of sight, there is city. Not forest. City. Temple towers and gold parasols, the silver sheets of the berets, the green geometry of 1,000 square miles of rice, smoke from 100,000 fires hanging in the heat. As the sun drops west, the sandstone catches fire. The gilded towers blaze orange and throw themselves back at you from the mirror of the moat. It looks eternal, but look closer at the hills on the horizon. They are going bare. To feed 1,000,000 mouths, the forests are being cleared for rice. And with every monsoon, the naked slopes bleed silt down into the perfect canals. Follow the canal south, and you reach the source of everything, the Tonle Sap, the lake that breathes. Each year, the monsoon swells the Mekong so violently that the river feeding the lake reverses and floods backwards, and the Tonle Sap balloons to many times its dry season size. Forests drown, fish breed in the flooded branches in numbers that beggar belief, one of the richest inland fisheries on Earth. When the water pulls back, the fish are trapped. The silt stays, the fields open. Rice from the berets, fish from the lake, and prahok to carry that protein through the lean months. Salt, smoke, and rot turned into survival you can eat. The empire's temples may point at heaven, but its stomach is down here, in the water and the mud. Hold those two things together once more. Rice and fish. They are why Angkor lives. The failure of the first will help end it. The light goes long and gold, and you come down off the temple with your knees shaking. The city softens into evening. Cooking smoke, grilled fish, palm sugar, children chasing along the embankments. The old master washes the stone dust from his arms in a canal and tells you he carved his first apsara under the king's father, and that his father carved under the king before that. 3 generations of the same family's hands on these walls. He believes, everyone here believes, that his grandson will carve here too, and his grandson after him forever, because the gods are fed and the water obeys and the rice keeps coming. It is a good faith. It is the faith of a city that cannot imagine its own end. And tonight, though not one living soul can see it, that faith has already begun very quietly to run out of time. So how does the greatest city on earth die? Not tonight, not for almost 300 years, and not the way the legend says, not in one screaming catastrophe. Angkor dies slowly from the inside, and the killer is the very thing you watch glittering on the plain, the water. The machine is brilliant, but brilliance has a price. It is fragile, and it depends on the monsoon keeping its promise. In the centuries after your death, the monsoon breaks that promise. The tree rings will remember what no scribe ever writes down. Decades of brutal drought, when the berets run low and the canals choke with the very silt your bare hills are bleeding. And then sudden, violent mega monsoons that tear through embankments faster than anyone can repair them. A water system patched over centuries begins, channel by channel, to fail. And the water is only one thread. As the great inland machine strains, the world shifts under it. That quiet sea trade in the south swells into a flood of wealth, and power drifts toward the river ports nearer the coast, toward what will one day be Phnom Penh. The state faith itself changes, from these Hindu gods toward Theravada Buddhism, with its humility and simple community prayer, leaving the megalomania of stone god mountains behind. And on the western frontier, a hungry rival kingdom, Ayutthaya, grows strong. In 1431, its armies sack Angkor. That sack is real, but it is not the murder weapon. It is the final push to a capital already half-emptied. The Khmer court simply leaves, choosing trade and safety in the south, and it does not come back. In the end, the carvers' grandsons carried the empire away with them. Angkor did not fall. It was slowly abandoned. Now let's break the most famous myth, because you deserve the truth. You have probably heard that Angkor was a lost city, swallowed by jungle and discovered by a Frenchman, Henri Moho, in the 1860s. That story is largely false. Moho made Angkor famous to European readers. He did not discover it in any real sense. The Khmer always knew it was here. Monks knew. Pilgrims came. After its Hindu age, Angkor Wat slid into a living Buddhist temple and was never truly abandoned. Portuguese and Spanish travelers were writing about it back in the 1500s, centuries before Moho was born. So what was actually lost? not Angkor, only Europe's awareness of Angkor. Yes, the jungle reclaimed the outer city, because wood rots and stone does not. But worship remained, memory remained, the Khmer remained. The real story is not discovery, it is survival through transformation. So what is left of your day's work? More than you could ever dream. The Apsara you are finishing this afternoon is still on that wall right now, in the 21st century. Her face, your line, 8.5 centuries later. Angkor Wat became the single most important symbol of an entire nation. It stands at the center of Cambodia's flag, the only building in the world on a national flag. Millions cross the planet just to climb the stairs you climbed. They look up at gray, lichen-spotted stone, and they see ancient bones. They are seeing the stripped skeleton of what was once a bright, painted, gilded, roaring living city. Your city. The town of wood is gone, as all towns of wood go, but the universe in stone held. You set down your chisel tonight certain that Angkor will stand forever. And in the only way that truly matters, you were right. Angkor leaves us a hard lesson. Great cities do not stand on their monuments. They stand on systems no one quite sees. Water, food, trade, labor, faith. The Khmer mastered water on a scale no one had matched, and for a while it made them the largest city on earth. But break the system beneath the stone, and the monument becomes an island. There was one other capital that called itself eternal, with even more confidence. A city of marble, blood, and bread that held 1 million people, and believed it was the center of the entire world, and would never, ever fall. Next time, we walk its streets at the absolute height of its power. This is Rome. If you want to keep standing inside these lost worlds while they are still alive, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next reconstruction.